Hello my lovelies, welcome back to my channel. This is your girl Angel from Simply Angel Tia. In this video we're gonna be working on these leg warmers. They are thigh high leg warmers. They are meshy. They're meant to be on a little bit more of a sexy side. I don't know if they will turn to look out like that exactly, but just something a little bit different, I guess, is what I'm trying to create for you guys here. But yeah, this is what we're gonna be working on. I hope you like the pictures and how it turned out. So hopefully if you're interested in this, go ahead and grab whatever color of yarn you want, and so we can go ahead and get started. Okay my lovelies, so before we get started, I'm showing you the materials that I'm using. As you can see here, I have just a regular black yarn. This is from Azurite by Timmins. It's 100% acrylic. It's a lightweight number 3, and this skein like this is about 50 grams, 140 meters. Recommended hook size is 3.5 to 4 millimeter crochet hook, and I just called this black, but in terms of color number is 585. I'm gonna need about 4 of these because I need 2 per leg warmer, and I need to do 2 leg warmers to get the pair. Okay, so I'm gonna need about approximately 3.5, but about 4 for the size that I'm making. For crochet hook size, I'm using slightly bigger. I'm using a 5 millimeter crochet hook, which is H8 US. I have my darning needle here. I have a scissors, and I just have a stitch marker in case I do need it. I will explain to you where you will need it if you do need to use it. And I'm missing a tape measure that I would usually use, but I will explain how you would measure to get the size that you want. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, my lovelies, so to get the project started, the first thing that I will do is I will start by doing a foundation chain. So this is where your tape measure will come in handy. So for me, I'm doing thigh high leg warmers. Okay, so I have already measured mine prior to losing my tape measure, and I know how many chains I need to do to get me to that thigh high. So pretty much from my ankle all the way to the middle of my thigh. So I need to do 100 chains for that. So I just do a slip knot, something like this. And then I will start to do my chain of 100. Now, depending on the length of your leg warmers, you're going to measure, and then you're going to measure how long a chain is that you need to do to give you that length. And in this case, like I said, I need 100 chains. So I'm going to start with that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, my lovely, so I have my chain of 100 here. So as you can see, it's quite long. It's gonna be from my ankle to the middle of my thigh. If you want these leg warmers to just be normal leg warmers that end beneath or below your knee, then you will measure from your ankle to that section and do the chain that corresponds to that. Okay, so I have 100 chains here. I'm gonna add one more for a turning chain. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna skip this chain here, and in the next chain right here, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna complete a half double crochet. This time I'm just gonna work in the front of the chain. I don't do this very frequently, but why not? Let's just do it for this one. And then for the next, I go into the next and I do a half double crochet. And then in the next, I go in and I do a half double crochet, and I do this all the way until I have 12 stitches to go. So what you can do is you can count 12 stitches here, so, and then put your stitch marker in. So if I do that with you just for the sake of it, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I would take my stitch marker. I'll just use the pen because these are not easy to fall off. These other ones here can fall off your work easily, and then you can lose your place that you wanted to put a stitch marker on. So I will just put that pen right there on the 12th stitch. So I will work my half double crochets all the way to the stitch before the marker. Okay, and this is just regular half double crochets all the way down. So go ahead and do that. I will do the same. When you reach the stitch right before the stitch marker where you will do your final half double crochet, come back to the video and I will show you how to work the remaining 12 and then how to start the next row. Okay, see you guys in a bit. Okay, my lovelies, I've worked my half double crochets all around, all down the chain here. And as you can see, I am in the I'm in the last stitch before the stitch marker. So I will remove the stitch marker. And then for the next 12 stitches here, I am just going to work single crochets, okay? So I'm just gonna do the same thing I did, which is go through the first stitch, but instead of doing half double crochets, I'm going to do just single crochets all down these remaining stitches, okay? So this part here is gonna be the part that we do the single stitches on, single crochet stitches, and the rest we do half double crochet and other stitches that we're gonna be using for the project. So I'm just gonna finish these here so we can start the next row together, so I can show you what to do for the next row. I'm gonna show you the next couple of rows, and then at that point on you will just repeat until you have what you need in terms of the circumference of your work. Okay, so I just finish it like this. This is our 12th stitch here, so I'll go and put my stitch marker back there so I don't lose it. And if you're not aware of how to tell the difference here, make sure you put in your stitch marker before you continue crocheting. You do your single crochet, put a stitch marker on, and then proceed on working on your stitches. Okay. All right, so for the second row, I'm gonna chain one and turn, and this work is gonna just consist of doing single crochet at the beginning, which does not count as a stitch. And then in the very first, that same stitch there, I'm gonna go and grab the back loop, just like this, and complete a single crochet. And then I'm gonna go into the next stitch, grab the back loop, and complete a single crochet. And we do this for the 12 stitches, okay? So all the way to the stitch that has the stitch marker, and then we are going to remove the stitch marker, and the rest of the stitches we do in the half double crochet. Okay, so and this is going to be part of the alternation of this pattern. Not all of it is going to repeat it the exact same way, but this portion of it is going to be how you do this pattern here. Okay, so again, I'm taking you to where the stitch marker is so I can show you how you transition from the single crochet to the half double crochet. And then I'll have you guys finish the row, and then we'll start the third row together because it's going to be a different stitch altogether. Okay. Okay, and now I'm in the stitch that have the stitch marker, so I will remove the stitch marker for now. I will do my final single crochet there, like that. And then I will place my stitch marker back into that stitch. And then now for the remaining of the stitches, I'm going to do back loop, half double crochet. Okay, so I do my half double crochets, but this time they're all going in the back loop. And I do this all the way to the very final stitch. In the last stitch, I will go through both loops as opposed to just the back loop. Okay, so I'm going to have you guys finish the remaining of the row here by just completing your half double crochets all the way to the end, and then when you get to the end, come back to the video and I will show you how to start the third row. Okay, see you guys in a bit. Okay, my lovelies, so I have worked my half double crochets all from the section here all the way to the top, and as you can see, I have one more stitch to do at the end here. And this is the stitch that I told you guys, instead of going through just the back loop, I go through both loops like that. Okay, now to start the third row, I'm going to start by doing a chain of 3. So 1, 2, 3, and I turn my work, and this is where I will do the mesh portion of the project. So these chain 3, the first 2 chains count as a double crochet, and then there's a chain 1, and this is attached to this stitch right here. So what I will do is I will skip this stitch, and in that stitch I'm going to complete a double crochet. Okay, just like that. Oops, let's redo that. Okay, so I'll do a double crochet right here, and then I will chain 1, I will skip this stitch here. In this stitch I will do a double crochet and then chain 1, skip this stitch. In this stitch I do a double crochet. Okay, so for this portion of the project I'm gonna do this for this row all the way until I get to the stitch marker. Okay, so a couple of stitches actually before the stitch marker. So I would say about three to four stitches before the stitch marker. Come back to the video. I will show you how to transition into the section that is the single crochet part. Okay, so go ahead and do this until you have a few stitches before the stitch marker and then come back to the video. Okay, my lovelies, so I have worked my mesh section of the leg warmers here, and as you can see, that's how it looks like. But what I have done here is I have 2 stitches before the stitch marker, and I wanted to come and show you guys how to just do something a little bit different here. So as you can see, this is the section that we're going to be doing the single crochet. So I have done my chain 1 after my double crochet here. And so what I will do, I will skip this stitch still, and in that stitch here, instead of doing a double crochet, I'm actually going to do a half double crochet. Okay, so I'm just going to do a half double crochet like this. The reason I do it like this is because we transition into doing a skinnier part of the project. I don't want it to go from a double crochet all the way to a single crochet. It's going to make it look a little bit off. So I will remove my marker here. And so now in my this stitch here, I'm going to go in the back loop and complete a single crochet. So it's going to look something like that. Okay. And then I'm going to go into the next and do a single crochet. And first I will put that stitch marker here. So this was my first single crochet here. So I'll put that stitch marker there just to remind me of where my 12 single crochet stitches begin and end. And then I'm going to do single crochets in the back loop of each stitch all the way until the second last, and and then in the last I go through both loops. So just like what I do at this end here, I do it at this end here as well, where I go through both loops for the final stitch. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you exactly what I'm talking about here. So I just do my back loop single crochets, my back loop single crochets. That's my second last is this one. And then for the last one, I just go through both loops, complete my single crochet like that. Okay, and then I chain 1 and I turn. So the only time that I chain 1 is when I don't do the mesh, when I do this end, and when I don't do the mesh. When I do the mesh at the beginning on this side, I do a chain of 3. Okay, so just keep in mind that that's what you do to start the whatever row that it is. But every time on the skinny side, which is the bottom of our leg warmers here, we always start with a chain 1. And then now that I have my chain 1, I turn, and then in that very next stitch, because the chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, I do a single crochet in the back loop, and in the next stitch I do a single crochet in the back loop, and in the next stitch, and I just do this all the way until I get to the stitch marker, and the stitch marker is also a single crochet in the back loop. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys this as I go up here, and then when I will show you how to do this row and the next row and a few rows, and then that way it's a repeat of that. So I think it's gonna be about a 4 or 5 row repeat if I'm not wrong, but we will get to that. Okay, so my stitch marker is here, so I have one more before the stitch marker. I will remove the stitch marker, put it down for now, and then in that final single crochet in the back loop, replace my stitch marker in that stitch. And then, so now remember the half double crochet stitch that we did here. I am going to go through both of those loops in that stitch and do a half double crochet. And then in the chain 1 space, I'm gonna go in there and do a half double crochet. And then on top of the double crochet, I'm gonna do a half double crochet. And then in the chain 1 gap, a half double crochet. On top of the double crochet, a half double crochet. In other words, on every stitch, now from here to the end, I do a half double crochet on it. So this is what it looks like so far. Okay, so just repeat this all the way to the end, and then when you get to the end, you come back to the video and I will show you how to start the next row, and then I will explain how you repeat those rows until you have the size or the size that you're looking for. Okay, so but for now, let's meet back when you get to here. So you're gonna do a double crochet into this gap here, and then come back and I will show you how you need to work another double crochet at the end to make sure your work is straight on this end here. Okay, so I will actually, what you will do is just work your final double crochet here and then come to the video. We finish the last 2 stitches together. Okay, I will see you guys in a bit. Okay, my lovelies, so I have completed my half double crochets, and as you can see, this is how it looks like. And as I mentioned, I did my half double crochet on top of that double crochet, and I will do the final 2 with you. So for the next one, we just go into this gap here and complete a half double crochet. And then we have our chain 3 here, which is where 1, 2, and the third one is where we just worked on that. So I'm going to work my final half double crochet on top of the second chain 2. Okay, like that. So that way it keeps this section here straight. Okay. All right, so for the next row, we're going to do a chain 1 and turn, and our chain 1 in this part here does not count as a stitch as well. So every time we do a chain 1, it does not count as a stitch for this project. But when we do a chain 3, then it counts as a double crochet. Okay, so now that I have my chain 1 and turn, and the next thing I'm gonna yarn over, and in that very first stitch I'm gonna go in the back loop and complete a half double crochet, and then I'm gonna go into the next stitch and go in the back loop and do a half double crochet, and then in the next stitch I do the same thing, and then in the next stitch I do the same thing, and I just continue to do this all the way until I get to the stitch marker. So the stitch before the stitch marker will have a half double crochet just like this one, and then the next is going to be my 12 single crochets in the back loop. Okay, so as you can see, this is how it's gonna look like. So I will have you guys work these stitches all the way to the stitch before the stitch marker, and then into the stitch marker is where you start your single crochets in the back loop. So you'll remove your stitch marker, do your single crochet in the back loop, and then the remaining 11, with the exception of the last one, where in my case I go through both loops for the final stitch. So do that and then come back, because what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you one more time how to start this row of mesh, and then from that point on you guys will know what the repeat pattern is. Okay, so but for now, just go all the way to the bottom here, doing your half double crochets in the back loop here, switching over to the single crochet in the back loop for the remaining 12 stitches, with the exception of the last one. Okay, so do that and then come back to the video and I will show you what to do next. Okay, my lovelies, so I have completed the fifth row all the way to the end here. So as you can see, this is pretty much how it looks like. Okay, so I'm gonna start this next row, but I'm gonna more explain it. So I'm just gonna start it up to here and then I'm gonna explain how you do the rest of it. So I'm gonna chain 1 and turn. My chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and I'm gonna do the remaining 12 single crochets in the back loop here, just like we have been doing for this section of the project. Okay, so this part here, not too much to say beside you just do single crochets in the back loop for 12 stitches, which is including the stitch where the stitch marker is. So I'm going to do that quickly, and then I'm going to show you how to do the mesh part again, just a few of them, just so you can understand how we repeat this pattern. Okay, so and then I remove the stitch marker temporarily, and I go in there and I do my single crochet in the back loop, and I replace my stitch marker. Okay, so now that I have that, and as you guys remember, this was a stitch where we did a half double crochet right here. So, and I don't go through the back loop for that, so I will do the same thing right here. I will go into that stitch and do a half double crochet like this. Okay, and then now I am going to chain 1, and I'm going to skip this stitch here, and in that stitch I'm going to do a double crochet like that. Okay, so it's gonna look something like this, and then I'm going to chain one, skip this stitch. In that stitch I do a double crochet, chain one, skip a stitch, do a double crochet. Oops. Chain one, skip a stitch, do a double crochet. Okay, so this is what I mean by now this is what we repeat. So I think what we do is we do 2 rows, and then that row, and then these 2 rows, and then so it's a 3-row repeat pretty much. Okay, so this is what we repeat the whole throughout the rest of the project here, where we do 2 rows of half double crochets working in the back loop, and then 1 row of mesh, and then 2 rows of half double crochets in the back loop, and then 1 row of mesh. And this is excluding the 12 stitches here, where we always do single crochets in the back loop. And you just repeat exactly what we do here, back and forth, until you have what you need. So what do I mean by what you need? What you do, I don't have my tape measure here. So what I did for mine, so this is the length of the leg warmer here, which is a thigh-high leg warmers. And by the way, you can also wear them lower. If you bunch them down, you can wear them so they're loose type of leg warmers. But anyways, if you want to pull them up your thigh, what you do is you measure the widest part of your thigh of how wide, how long it goes. So you measure this, and then whatever this length is, where this land is the top of the leg warmers, you measure the circumference of that, and then you do your work until when you stretch this section here really hard, it goes around that part of your thigh comfortably. Okay, and so you're gonna do the number of rows that correspond to that, whatever that is gonna be. The other thing is when you work your stitches, make sure you end with a row of mesh like this. The reason for that is we're going to end up joining the 2 sides like this, and you don't want to end with a side that has the half double crochets, because then it's going to end up, when we join, it's going to end up making that we have 4 rows of double crochets kind of joined like together. So what you will do is you will make sure you end, we started with 2 rows of half double crochet, you're going to make sure you end with a row of the mesh. Okay, so work these until you have what you want, and then come back to the video. I will show you how to move on to the next step. Okay, see you guys in a bit. Okay, my lovelies, so I have finished working on one of my leg warmers here, and as you can see, this is pretty much how it looks. It's very simple. It's a mesh, as you can see here, and as you can see, this is my alternations of 2 rows of half double crochet and a row of mesh, and then that alternation. And just like I said, I finish my row here with a row of mesh, so that when we join it like this, because we're going to be joining it like this, we end up having the mesh and then the rows of 2 half double crochets and then a mesh, and then it continues with the same pattern like that. Okay, so I have done this. So as you can see, this is what I meant by stretching. When you stretch this very much like this, it's gonna fit the widest part of your thigh, because this is gonna be the top part of our thigh here, and then this is the bottom. So with these leg warmers here, they're leg warmers that you can wear, and you can kind of push them down your leg so they kind of bunch up below your knee, because this is still kind of loose enough for the bottom part of your leg, but on top here, if you pull it up to the highest part of your thigh where you want it to go to, it's gonna hold tight. Okay, so that is more the point of these leg warmers here. Okay, so now that we have completed that, I am going to now show you how to join like this. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn it like this, and then I'm gonna flip it like that, so that we can join from here to here. And as you can see, when I ended the row, I just did it with and left a long chain or a string like this, so that I can use that to join the leg warmer like this. So I'm gonna bring in my darning needle, and I'm gonna use this to join my leg warmer, so that it now goes from a flat panel to a tube, which is the leg warmer part of it. And voila. Okay, so I'm gonna hold it here so I can show you guys what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna place it so that I line up my work very straight like this. So I have already removed the stitch marker because we don't need it anymore. And I'm just gonna hold it. This is a little bit kind of distracting here, so I'm gonna hold it like this, or actually more on the inside maybe, just for now. And then I'm gonna go into the very first stitch here, and then into the very first stitch on the opposite side. And then I'm gonna pull like that. And I'm gonna do that one more time into the exact same spot. And what that does is it just reinforces the strength of this area so it doesn't come off. And then for the remaining stitches, I'm just gonna line up, and every stitch I'm gonna line up with the stitch on the other side. Oops, I'm gonna undo this here so I can actually move it up. Okay, like this, that way it doesn't lay back down there. Okay, and then I'm gonna line up the next stitch just like this, and I'm gonna pull. And when you pull, don't pull too tight because you want your work not to wrinkle by pulling the sewing here too tight. You want to make it so that it's tight enough but not pull too much, because it's gonna wrinkle it up. And then you just go ahead and literally line every stitch, just 2 stitches at a time, one on this side, one on the other side, and grab this and line them up. And in the meanwhile, making sure that you're actually lining up the right stitches. Don't accidentally have a stitch 12 and stitch 13. Make sure 12 and 12 is on the other side, 13 and 13, 14 and 14, and just, you know, things like that. You're lining up the right stitches with one another. And you do this all the way up to here. When it comes to this mesh section, so I'm just going to show you that, because that's why I'm still bubbling off here, so I can buy the time to get to the mesh, and then I can show you how to do the mesh section, because that section is going to be the part that you want to make sure you do it properly. Okay, so as you can see now, I have the meshes on the other side, and you're still just following what we have been doing, which is just going stitch to stitch. So don't bother too much with the fact that there's meshes on the other side. As long as you grab the stitches, you're not gonna worry too much about it being a mesh on the other side, because you're just grabbing the top of the stitch. So for example, here I'm literally just grabbing the top of that mesh side without worrying too much about the fact that it's a mesh. Okay, so go ahead and do this all the way. As you can see, the joining here looks like this, but we can obviously flip it so that this side is on the inside and then the other side is on the outside. But for now, join your work all the way to the top here. When you get to the top here, come back to the video, and I will we will finish off this part, and then I will have you guys duplicate by doing a second one, and I will do the same so that we have our pair. Okay, so I will see you guys when you have just gone all the way to up here for joining. Okay, my lovelies, so I have joined the leg warmers here. So as you can see, I just joined it straight here all the way down. I have removed the darning needle here. That's the yarn that I have left over from the joining. So I'm just gonna cut it somewhere here so it's manageable for me to weave these in. And for this part here, it's too meshy for me to weave it in. So what I do is I just split the yarn here, and then I use a hook to bring 2 of these strands this way and the other strand the other way, and then I just do a knot, and then I just cut it off. Okay, so just make it a little bit easier so I don't have to try to weave it in too much. Okay, so I just do a few knots here to be able to secure that area, and then I take my scissors and I just cut off the excess yarn like that. Okay, so that's it here. So this is one of my leg warmers, nice and simple. I'm not gonna do anything with this area here. If you guys maybe want to do a row of single crochet or something like that, the reason I don't do it is because if I do that, it may make this place a little bit less stretchy, and that may cause it so that it's too tight on top. So I leave it like this. Okay, and again, this is the part where we joined, so I prefer usually to flip this so that the other side is actually the side that is my outside of the project. I do this with most things, sweaters, anything like that. just because I think the side that we don't work on is always going to end up being the neater part of the project. Okay, so I do something like that. Okay, so this is it here. So this is one of my leg warmers completed. This is going to be the bottom of the calf, and then it goes up my thigh, and it goes up until up just right above my knee. Okay, so this is one of my thing done. I'm gonna go ahead and repeat this exactly the same way for the second one, and you should obviously do the same. And when I have both of them completed, I will come back to the video so we can wrap it up. Okay, so I'll see you guys in a bit. Okay, my lovelies, so I have gone ahead and completed my second leg warmer here. So I have both of them completed, and as you can see, they're exactly the same length, they're exactly the same look, the same design, everything like that, just because I just repeated the exact same thing from the first one and the second one. So yeah, this is it here. So these are my meshy leg warmers. I have a bunch more of different leg warmers on the channel, so please check them out if you're looking to do some leg warmers. And yeah, so this is it here. I'm gonna end the video here. Thank you so much again for watching it to the end. And if you have not yet subscribed, please go ahead and do so, because it's important that you subscribe. Make sure you like, you comment, you share, all of the good stuff, and I will obviously and hopefully see you guys in the next one. Okay, bye.